Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you doing?
I've been better
When?
when we weren't covering Discovery.
Before we discovered Discovery, you were happier? Wow.
No, like, I mean, like, in terms of, like, before we started this season of Discovery and we were covering other things.
Like the 4th season. You were
No,
really happy there.
The time between seasons.
Real question for you straight off the bat, because here on Yum Yum Podcast, we're talking about science fiction television, and Star Trek Discovery is the topic today.
Mm-hmm.
Which season of Discovery do you think has been the most miserable to talk about on the podcast?
Hard
Hard to say since we haven't finished this one yet, but...
Yeah, but I am leaning towards 3.
The one with the burn.
Yes. Because that was just so... Like, I remember it being boring and yet aggravating.
For me, it's that 4th season for the exact same reasons. It's both boring and aggravating.
Yeah, I felt like you were going to go with 4, so I thought I would give 3 a shout out. Because 4 almost broke us. We declared no more until the final one, and then
they
turned around and made season 5 the last one.
And here we are today to talk about Discovery's final season here on Yum Yum Podcast. We are named that because of the iconic character of Commander Nhan, who does appear in this episode. And can we get a round of applause? Rachel, come on.
No.
Give her a... She's here. She's here. They got that actress.
She doesn't get anything from me.
What? But she's back. And
I don't care.
in most television shows in which you have minor recurring characters who appear maybe once or twice a season, there's a sense of fondness for when they show up. And surely the namesake of the pod herself must earn that reaction from us both. But she did say this line, Yum Yum. It made us want to rewatch and talk about our feelings. So we made a podcast in which we do that with Discovery. We rewatch the episodes, which no human on Earth has ever done before and lived to tell the tale. You could argue that we're not alive. We're actually ghosts as we record this. You don't know. But Rachel, which episode of Discovery are we here to discuss?
We're here to talk about
oregano? I would love to talk about oregano. Ah, yes. Oh, yes.
Egra.
Egra? Egra. Is that what it was? We always kept getting the title wrong. It was Egra? Oregano? You kept correcting me when... What was it that I said it was? Igra.
Ira?
Ira Stephen Bear, writer of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and...
With Mole and Locke
Outlander?
in custody, the Federation is pulled into a diplomatic and ethical firestorm when the Breen demand they are handed over. Meanwhile, Book looks for ways to help as Tilly, Adira, and Reno work to decipher the latest clue.
You blasted through that so quick that I had to stop giggling too hard at Book looks, which is such a great flow in that sentence. Book looks! And since you said Reno, I was actually going to be like, you mean Reno, right? Oh no, Reno was in this episode. Yes, they paid Tig Notaro money to be inserted into scenes at times in this particular season. Not as much in this episode. They were physically there with the other actors in this episode. But
at least it looked like it.
At least it looked a little bit more natural this time around. And Rachel, everyone is wondering, they're pondering not the meaning of life. God forbid that. I mean,
the yum yum moment of this
that's
episode.
What they're really thinking. They're thinking this season must have so many.
Hal Burnham says Breen. Breen. That was a bit too Shatnery, actually.
Breen. She says it like she's afraid. She says it like a ghost has just haunted her. Breen. They had this scene between her and the Admiral, and we on our reaction We stayed on this scene for a very long time. We kept rewinding it, having a giggle. Rachel, you said you can't take it anymore. You're like, Discovery, I have no tolerance. Because Sonequa Martin Green, by the way, that rhymes with Breen, she has such a unique line delivery at times. And it does actually feel Shatner-esque, very theatrical, very over the top, very over-enunciating certain words, and like her particular accent kind of elongates things in a fun way. And every time she said Breen, it sounded like she was haunted by a ghost.
You received this.
Breen.
What did you feel about this episode?
I had no tolerance for watching this episode. Like, you can see that even more on the reaction. Like, I wanted to leave the room. I made an excuse. I did leave the room. I came back, which I didn't want to do.
You had a lay down.
I had a lay down. I had various slumps. I got very annoyed at you pausing.
To discuss the moments of so many moments.
But I didn't want to engage with this any longer than the runtime. I didn't care if I missed anything. I just wanted it to be like the 50 minutes and be done. For it not to be an hour and a half watching the episode and then an hour and a half to discuss it, because I'm so disinterested in what it has to offer. And this episode really feels like it's, look at us. We're defined, dignified. Look at us doing these transitions. Hear that music. Watch these performances. And I'm like, stop your wanking and fucking get on with it.
Why did this get you so offside? I do feel like we've had episodes that just antagonize us more than others.
Not wanting to watch Discovery.
Oh, so you brought the package.
Yeah. Like, a lot of my disdain for this episode is on me and where I'm at the moment. I fully acknowledge that. Is it still shit? Yeah. Does it deserve to be as hated, or did I need to be as uncomfortable and as annoyed when I watched it? No.
I don't know. I think it's fair.
Because it's boring.
Oh, Rachel, how could you even say that? It's not even boring. It's insulting. This episode rivaled Mirrors as being one of the worst we've watched for the season. This was insulting to the intelligence of the characters and to me, the viewer. I did not believe pretty much any moment of this episode, other than Maul and Locke have some really good rapport. Their lines of dialogue in this episode...
And that they were married. I believe that they were married.
I believe that too. It was a neat little reveal. Maul and Locke are the only characters that came out of this episode feeling authentic to who they were, and it even made the Mirrors episode look lesser than, more so, because the dialogue that they had in this felt more to who they were than in that episode. But this was trash. This was...
Hugh gets shot.
Hugh has an action scene, for fuck's sake.
Hugh gets shot.
He has a kung fu action. We'll get there in the Huda. Let's not jump the gun. But
I feel like it's important to note.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
This is an example of an episode of serialized television that reminds you that this style, that this, ongoing narrative style that we have today has faults. It has shortcomings. It has pitfalls and weaknesses. That this is one of those episodes that spins the wheels and is nothing. You will gain nothing from
speak that is only acknowledged in one moment in the previously on, because that's how unimportant it was.
That had at least a self-contained attitude to it while still giving pieces to the ongoing story. But it did feel, like you said, like this episode. But this episode's on steroids in comparison, because I can't tell you what this was about. What was the plot of this episode? Locke dies. That's like all I can give you. That's all I could give you from when I walked in was like, oh yeah, the Breen come and Locke dies. The rest of it, I'm having trouble retaining anything.
They're on the brink of war.
Like they were in other episodes.
Yep.
So what do you want to discuss? What do you want to pull at first?
Let's pull at Nan.
Guys, she's here. She's here.
She's back. She's here as security. She's in a jumpsuit that I thought looked shit from the beginning. Ryan slightly disagreed with, and then he saw how other people looked in it and then agreed that the jumpsuit looked shit. I still think that she makes it work okay, but I don't think that it looks good.
No, it's just bland. It is just generic sci-fi.
It reminds me weirdly of the Enterprise uniforms.
Everyone,
I don't know why.
because they're just zipped up jumpsuits. Like,
yeah.
In Enterprise's case, they had like the boiler suit look to it, so it actually had more of an industrial, grimy look. This is just, they look like they're in pajamas. But look how we go to the superficial. Because her character is superficial. I wanted to start
there because sometimes I feel bad for the people who miss out on the reaction content, so then I shoehorn things into the main feed episodes that are from the reaction.
Not all of it, though.
No, you never get all of it.
But I just want to ask something that I already said a bit ago, which is, usually in a series, whether it is a serialized one or one that's more episodic, you get these minor recurring characters that maybe in a total of 100 plus episodes are in 5 or 6 or more, and yet we have such a fondness for them. And then when they return, you get excited and you say, yes, this is going to be Reg is in this episode. Like Reg Barkley's in this episode. And it's not even a Reg episode. Oh, though, look, the Regent from Babylon 5 is back. Huzzah! Like we have these people. And Discovery tries to its credit, have those characters, whether they be Jet Reno, who's more of a mainstay recurring, or Nan. Who, like, was at one time more of a mainstay crew, and then she's departed, like, and now she's this old friend we see.
Discovery crew, and now pops in and out, depending on what's going on, because she's still important enough in the world of Discovery that it makes sense for her to come back in different ways. It's just, she doesn't have anything to do that makes it important that it's her. There is a little bit of shorthand because she knows Burnham.
Who doesn't?
Fair point. Fair point. Everybody either knows Burnham or knows of Burnham.
They're her best friend. They admire her. They respect her so much. So, again, that shorthand doesn't add anything to Nan.
No, it doesn't. But it just adds a little bit of flavor to this episode. But not in a way that changes anything or means anything. So, to us, it doesn't matter that it's Nan.
It also doesn't matter because she doesn't have a unique character that you can get drawn to other than she's an alien woman who does action. What differentiates her from any other guest you could bring in that does that stuff?
And her action scene in this episode is so fucking shit.
Obnoxious. This is like the inverse of the direction last episode, in which there was stylish direction, unique stuff that we were praising. We were like, okay, this works. This episode's, it's inconsistent direction. There's some good stuff and there's some really atrocious stuff.
Nothing of the style feels like it's in service of anything. Like, we get a lot of transitions where they spin the camera over, and then during like the rotation of the camera around the scene flips to a new setting.
And it has no sense of purpose
And
to
it's
it.
just like worlds turned upside down is what I would think that transition is implying. But nothing feels that unstable in that way, or perspectives changing, because a bunch of this is like the threat of a war with the brain, like the diplomacy of that. And it's just like, well, I have no reason to really believe that that's going to be a threat to the Federation, because the Federation survived the burn. It's been rebuilt, and they destroyed the Emerald Chain in a montage. So
Michael literally shot their leader in the head, so we know that diplomacy doesn't matter to getting rid of an enemy.
no.
That's how the Emerald Chain got destroyed. Wasn't like they did it in a montage. Michael literally shot the leader in the head, and then it ended.
They dismantled it.
Oh, off screen, yeah.
They dismantled it
With a line.
Yeah, with a line as part
Great,
of like
great.
a
How did they
montage.
do that? I don't know. But the point stands.
Yeah, so it just mean so much of it is just there is style here, and I look at that style and go, well, the meaning of that could be this, and then it's not. They just went, that looks cool. So then when there is like one shot or transition that I'm like, oh, that implies this, and that actually
builds on something,
adds something to this moment. But then you have the other bits that are showing off, so it takes away from it.
The technology evolves so fast, so you need people who really know how to do that, and who know how to bring that cinema to television without losing what's most important about television, which is the small, intimate details in the way that we love the characters.
And Nan does not bring anything to the table as a character, like we were saying about like when you see an old friend and you go, oh, or like a character and you say to yourself, ooh, I can't wait to see how they interact, because Nan has no characterization. She is just another person in the show that we have met before, and that is it. She could be so much more, because what she does actually could remind me, so it actually, if it was done well, reminds me of one of my favorite characters in The Expanse, which was Monica. Monica is a reporter in The Expanse. But what Monica did that was excellent is every time she showed up, you knew that she meant business, she was going to offer information, but most importantly is we saw that she was on the same side as the heroes, and yet they were opposed to one another inherently because of the approach that they were taking to the end goal. Monica, because of her job, held people accountable, even if they were the people we liked. And she was a character that when she literally showed up, you in your mind go, oh, great, I'm happy to see her. Or you have at least a reaction to going, I know who she is, what she's going to do to the story, and how she's going to influence the characters.
It's going to be important that she is here to be herself. But
and her
Nan
job
doesn't have any of that depth.
But she should. She comes into this episode with one of the most valuable pieces that we've been saying all season, which is, I do not approve of Book being a part of this mission at all. She could be the
Book has access to everything he wants.
And she brings up like, oh, he set off a isolated weapon. He's a terrorist. He almost exterminated a whole race. And everyone says, yeah, but we know him. He's a good guy. And she's like, she also could be the Lockley from Babylon 5, in which Lockley walks in and says, who the fuck is this Mr. Garibaldi prick? He doesn't have a job. Get him out of here. And instead, they have that as lip service. Nan says that line just to acknowledge that the thing exists, but she herself doesn't really believe it because she's still a softie about it. And then she, in the end, just says...
one thing that Book doesn't get. And then Zora gives him all of the information that he asks for. So there's seems to be no limitations on what he can access from the ship. He's not confined to anywhere. And that was part of, having that in mind was just Why don't they just get Mole when she's at the thing to look up the medical records? Because it seems like Discovery has no data privacy systems whatsoever. So I'm sure she can log in and see that he's crashing.
Did Nan and Book have an episode's worth of experience together when in the end she says, I misjudged you? Because she says, I misjudged you. So did they have a story together in which she got to see the validity to Michael's point or the error of her own judgment? What did they do instead? The classic, I think this is a real season 5 thing as well. We tell a story in 2 scenes, beginning, end. Beginning, she says, I don't trust him. End, I trust him now. That's it. Her and Book don't have anything together to get to that point. And I know we keep asking these things, but it's worthy of still being asked. In this episode, there's so much fluff here. Why do they include that and not a story in which we can get to these checkpoints? Like, why do they omit that but keep in other things? Like, why are the priorities the way that they are? I still don't understand it after all of this time.
I don't think we ever will. Because the priorities are just so different than what we expect and what we want from a TV show. Because it does feel like it's just spectacle for spectacle's point.
Book is used in this episode in the most insulting, pathetic, embarrassing, slap to the face way ever. Because he has no reason to be in the episode in the way that they've written it. In a potential version of this episode, he could be in it. But he randomly just walks into engineering, starts talking to Paul Stamets and says, I've got shite to do. Give me a plot.
Woo! I'm sorry, you keep on trying to get me to talk about this and I just don't have anything to say because there's just nothing here.
But
there's nothing... Like, we have said the same thing about Book in pretty much every single episode, which is the show is just wanting to ignore what he did last season.
But this is a case in which they're not even just doing that. They're ignoring the sensibilities of writing to have him naturally, within an episode, be a part of a plot. He just literally walks in and says, I have nothing to do. Give me plots.
I'm shite at doing nothing.
So, Paul, I will work with you now because we've had episodes where we've worked together. So I guess it adds
you're
up.
working on the clues, so I'll help you with that. And it's just like, really? Really him? Like, he helped out on Trill as well. His empathy powers came into effect, and that's part of the reason why he's here in this one.
It's the only reason. The writers knew the end point, but they didn't know how to get there. They knew the end point should be the telepathic race left a telepathic message. We have an empath. He should read it. How do we get there? I don't know. He just says he's got nothing to do. So he walks in. Why can't they, I can't help but want to rewrite it and say Nan, who has a problem with him, should actually be forced to work with him, and she realizes, because she is also an alien with weird spiritual nonsense powers, she should realize, oh, you've got empathy, or he comes to this and she sees firsthand that he's actually useful in a tactical way, but also he's an emotional person with wants, needs, and desires. Stories. You can make them, people.
I commend you for even bothering to imagine the ways in which Star Trek Discovery can be better. Because I can't be fucked anymore doing that.
Oh, they've given up on even giving Paul Stamets anything. We've said it from the beginning of the season that he gets nothing in the season, and he's in every episode doing nothing.
The performance is just so... like, uneven. Like, there's scenes and moments where, like, Rap is trying to do something. He seems invested in being Stamets. And then the majority of scenes are he is reading off the script that he has memorized.
It's unnatural. We actually
There's
paused
no even, like, rhythm to what he's saying.
Nonsense. He's saying nonsense.
It's just word, stop. Word, stop.
Eyebrows.
Wait, response.
Eyebrows.
Word, pause.
Tilt head. It's very mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like a robot.
Yeah.
More than Paul Stamets. And it actually made me...
But it's weird because there was a point where Stamets was robotic, but there were more nuances to his performance when he was that version of Stamets than he is now, when Stamets is meant to be, like, more emotionally intelligent and got more things going on. You know, he's a space dad now.
And it barely factors in because every other character is being the space parent to Adira than Hugh or Paul. So it even feels more...
Tilly's being a teacher.
Oh, thank you. Get it right, please. Tilly's going to have parent-teacher...
Parents never teach their kids anything.
Parent-teacher night with Tilly, where Hugh and Paul sit down with Tilly and have a little update on Adira. But Paul, Anthony Rapp's performance in this episode was so baffling to me that it actually made me sit back, and you could see in the reaction my soul leave my body as I had this quandary of, was he always like this? As a performer, has he always been, in this case, bad? And I remembered liking, when we first watched Discovery, and even going through our podcast, Paul. I liked Paul at one point. He's aggravated me. And same with...
You wanted more of Paul, I recall.
I wanted more of Paul. I think but I'm wondering, it's like, was he just a standout character in that first season, but his performance was still like this? Or has somewhere along the way this actor just lost the thread, or there's no material for him to work with because he's just technobabble?
I think he's lost his spark.
Look, this was attached to the clue we retrieved from the fifth tower on Halimno. It's a Beta Z logo. And the text translates to the labyrinths of the mind. So if you and Adira could focus on the meaning of that phrase, then I can figure out the properties of the metal.
What about their child, their adoptive family? How's Adira doing in this episode? Do they need to be reassured about the thing that's been going on for 4 episodes now?
Yeah, they do, but they need to be reassured by their teach. Tilly, teach. Teach, Tilly.
Adira's such a worthless... I'm going to put my money on the table now. I think Adira is maybe the most wasted character in Star Trek Discovery next to Hugh Culber. I think they're right next to each other. They started this season that Adira first showed up in, saying they were this smart, reassured, cocky character who has the wisdom of many, many years because of the trill that they have inside of them, but also because they are from the future in comparison to the rest. They're from Earth. They like got all of this stuff going on. And then now they are completely the opposite of that. They're this nebbish weasel character who blubs and cries and has no sense of purpose or direction. And honestly, you could remove them from the show and nothing would change. Nothing would change at all. Because they serve the same job Tilly does in the show, which is just they say specific technobabble. They're the science technobabble. But like, there's nothing to them. And it's like my jaw hits the floor because they introduce this character in such a big way. And like, we have whole episodes dedicated to them. And then the writers almost immediately lost the characterization that they brought in. They're an art genius, Rachel.
You remember that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing in that one episode, wasn't it? Yeah, and there's flashbacks. And a little bit in the present, right? There was like, there's,
Yeah, they're an art
less than
genius.
2 minutes that they spent on that.
Yeah. Am I being harsh? Am I being harsh to Adira?
It's almost, as meaningful as Riker and the trombone, right?
No. No. That's iconic. That's iconic.
But like that.
Yeah, I know you're being a snark lord, but let's not even joke about Riker and his great music skills. Am I being too harsh to
No,
Adira?
I don't think that you are. I think that Adira is useless, and they want to have somebody who questions their worthiness on Discovery, because, having a bunch of pompous, competent Starfleet nerds would be boring, right?
Do you know many people think TNG reached its peak and became perfect around season 3 and 4? Coincidentally, those are the seasons in which Wesley Crusher is not as prominent or there at all. Because the audience can accept at face value that we can have an ensemble of characters who are confident and competent. In fact, in Star Trek, a show about problem solving, that's very good. We like it. Not to say that characters can't have flaws or insecurities. I mean, Data had many of those things, and he is a perfect android, but he had his flaws and his little quirks. Same with Geordi. Geordi's like a great engineer, but he's like a failure of a ladies' man, and so on. Not to say that the characters can't have things like that, but Adira only has that. Only. And what else is there to say other than Adira is told, hey, that thing that you've been going through the last few episodes, we're just going to say the thing again, which is good job.
Raina said it last time. Tilly is saying it this time. I'm pretty sure Stamets said it before.
And Michael said it before then. What's Tilly's version of it? Is it any different? Is it specific? Is it special? Does it feel authentic?
No. It feels no different. It feels the exact same. It's in a slightly different set with a different character. And there is no sensation that this time it'll stick and Adira will accept it. But if anything, this scene where that happens feels like it does more for Tilly than it does for Adira, because Tilly is thanked for being a good teacher, and that's an ongoing struggle that she's been having.
When you say she's been having this ongoing struggle, it's just she says, I'm having this problem.
Oh, yeah.
It's not real. They just say it. It's like if I keep saying every episode, I'm super strong. That's not really that's not really a demonstration. I'm just telling you that. That's not a demonstration of anything. How have we been demonstrating?
I've given up on this show showing me and not telling me, Ryan.
How have they demonstrated that Tilly is having bad times as a teacher? Not at all. In fact, every time Tilly has had to pull out the teacher card, the show has said, good job, Tilly. Because they're afraid of showing frailties, weaknesses, flaws, problems with the characters. They're okay to say that they have them, but with Adira, it's actually the opposite. They're totally happy to show all of this with Adira and nothing else. Nothing else. Like, did Adira do anything in this episode? Did Adira do anything?
No, not really. I say not really just in case there is something that I've forgotten.
No, but that's the thing. Do you have anything as a viewer that you took away and said, oh, Adira did this?
I don't. The teach line, because that annoyed me.
Well, did Jet Reno perhaps give the Adira a bit of a pep talk? No.
No.
Don't worry, they will.
No, Reno is the reason that they know about the fucking archive.
The fucking archive? The archive of sex? Oh, wow. I can't wait to go there next episode.
Hey.
I sure hope it's a fun episode.
They say rare and important texts.
So sex texts are there.
I am willing to bet that there is a copy of the Kama Sutra in that archive.
I sure hope so. I sure hope that they have it there. Jet Reno is here because they are also a minor recurring character that we have to have in every season. I feel more fondness for Jet Reno in comparison to Nan because they do have a character trait, which is like they are the Tig Notaro snarky. That's it. Like, Jet Reno is exposition.
Yep.
Jet Reno is just a means to an end. Jet Reno could be replaced by a file on a computer. It doesn't really feel like it's so I actually couldn't help but chuckle at how, again, unnaturally they got to this point. Like, who on the ship do we know that could have this background in ancient stuff? Oh, it's Reno. And you throw your hands up and go, oh, okay.
But they don't even recognize that. They're just like, oh, search for this. And it's just like, oh, in their curriculum vitae.
And it's Reno.
Just say CV.
Reno.
Zora, just say CV, please. Most people don't remember what it stands for.
I didn't, but thank Sora that we now know. Couldn't it be? There's this whole thing where it's like, who do we know in the show that has a background in ancient stuff? Oh, obviously, you're Jet Reno. No.
But they give some explanation of how they tried out a bunch of things before they eventually settled into Starfleet.
They make a 7 of 9 joke with 7 of Limes. But Jet Reno's before 7 of 9's time, so it's a coincidental little hilarious statement. That's very funny, and we laughed because I recognize it. I pointed at the screen and said, I know what that is. I like being fed nostalgia. Please.
Yum Yum, feed me more.
Yum Yum, feed me more. My favorite critic is Nostalgia Critic because he has nostalgia in his name and he remembers it so I don't have to. You know who does have a background in history in this show? And it's great because they're parked right next to Federation HQ. David Cronenberg. Yes. There's a whole character that this show has. But they have to bring Jet Reno in because Jet Reno's quick for a laugh. Like, isn't it funny that Jet Reno has his background? Sure it is.
They can use existing sets. They don't have to pay for the void.
We are working on the latest clue. It points to a rare manuscript. We were thinking since you used to work with those.
I may have padded my resume with that one. Truth is, I used to move hard-to-find folios for a shady antiquarian archivist. Try saying that one 5 times fast.
But diplomacy isn't going to work, Ryan. So it makes sense that Jet Reno is out there getting everything ready because diplomacy and discovery is a fucking shit show. And it's really starting to piss me off that they're so stupid with the universal translator.
Well, the Breen speak a language that takes a little while for the translator to kick in. But Tarina can understand it instantly. Her Vulcan mind can understand it quicker than the translator can.
Yeah,
Just want to
absorb
absorb
it feels like
that
they've
in.
set the translator to delay because they want to show the language.
I also think it's to demonstrate that the Breen are so outside of the Federation. That the translator does not fully understand them because they have been so elusive. They don't even show their faces, you know?
Oh, I don't even think it's that. I think it's, we only ever really show English because, the universal translator always does it. But it would be cool if we actually got to hear the other language. So...
Yeah, but then the alien says, I shall speak in your tongue so you understand the meaning of what I'm saying. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but then we had season 4 where we had a whole alien race that couldn't speak our language and we couldn't speak theirs and we had to learn it. That was the whole thing this show has done. This thing, though, the universal translator thing, I think it also is just a technique, one of many that they try to use to build up
the scene,
to build up the tension. That's what I think is a part of it. But the deep issue is the music. The music is undercutting all of that stuff, which I think on the surface level works because the music is so whimsical and so plucky and so upbeat and just so off base with the intentions of the scenes when it comes to the relations with the Breen. And I know you had a lot of issues with the music, so please tell us a bit more about it and like what about it stood out so much and like why are they doing it like this? Because Discovery's music has always been inconsistent. It's had moments where it works and many moments where they just don't understand what the scene is supposed to be.
I honestly don't feel like wasting my breath on Discovery at the moment. I just... God damn it. It just sucks so much.
Wow, deep.
Just...
Insightful.
But, so there was this moment where they use, like, this common theme. I don't know if it was Michael's theme or just stupid whimsy when they're like, we might be heading into war. And then, like, when she's giving her suggestion and then when everybody's responding, it's just like dark, serious, moody, threatening.
But when Rhaena says that genocide is their prime directive, guys, what are you doing? What is this music? But even when the Breens show up and they're having the standoff in Federation HQ where it's like, I demand this and no, you will demand that.
There's no silence in this episode either. So it's just like they just plonked in things to fill the void.
They're afraid of taking a moment. And yet, by the very nature of this conflict, that's what you need. Answer me this. Did you feel at any time during this episode that they wrote it for Rillick and they just swapped it around to Tarina? Like, to me, every moment with Tarina was just clearly written for another character, for President of the Federation Rillick.
I didn't have that as much. I did feel like any of the three could be plugged into this. So it didn't matter who. But they just changed up some of the dialogue to make it fit that it was Trina.
There is, and you argue this, so feel free to make the case again here. There is validity to the idea that we have to have a sudden, quick, diplomatic approach with an enemy while our diplomats, our best of the best, aren't here.
Yeah, because not everybody is always there because, you know, diplomacy is happening all over the galaxy and in all reaches of the Federation. So it makes sense that, you know, the president isn't always at Federation HQ. And I do find that it contrived that Saru just happens to be near Breen space, so that we get a little bit of information from Saru.
It helps build him up for when he returns in the finale. It also does that. It helps do that.
Yeah, sure.
It does. The Breen, what do you think of them as a culture and as opposition?
I don't really feel any way about them because I have no reason to care I have no reason to see them as a formidable opponent. Yeah, they're a direct threat, but the show itself is using potential future visions to help create that sense of a threat. But you know that Burnham won't fail in that way, because she's the reason that the Federation HQ exists now the way that it does. So it won't fall apart again.
It will be fine, which is always a given, but it definitely impedes. The Breen have no culture, no identity, no ideology, no ethos to me. They are, as Raina describes, bad guys. They are bad. Genocide is their prime directive. Michael even invokes...
Which sounds so badass and means...
little. Michael even references the Klingons and how they remind her of the Klingons. Here's the difference. With just the Klingons in Discovery, we got a point of view on the Klingons. Like, we understood what they were fighting for with T'Kuvma. And you could disagree with it, you could say it was bad, but it's something you can recognize. It's an ethos, it's a movement, it's a culture. There's something there that you can map onto the real world, whether it be real life groups or just real life ideologies. The Breen are just bad. That's all they are. They're just bad. It's like with the Emerald Chain. The Emerald Chain is bad. These guys are bad. They are evil. Raina has a tragic backstory. He has a personal connection because he was invaded by the Breen, and there was one particular evil lady Primarch that did evil genocide stuff, blacken the skies and poison the earth, and she kept him alive because she liked the way he fought. Tragic backstory, Rachel. What did you feel about the Raina backstory? What did it tell you about his character that we didn't already know before?
Nothing. I was just really annoyed that this wasn't something that was mentioned when they had the moment of connection about his culture, because, you know, being genocided tends to affect people's culture. So it would have been an important thing to mention.
She acts surprised to hear that he had suffered at the hands of the Breen, and yet, as you said, she studied their culture. She learned about them. How did she not learn that? How did she not learn about the Holocaust, basically?
You had a strong reaction earlier, and I didn't fully understand it, but then I did a little digging and learned that Kelleron was used as a Breen outpost for a number of years. Your home.
We did not even mention during our discussion of mirrors that Locke got severely injured. Michael, in part, responsible, but he got fatally wounded. We didn't even mention it because it was so inconsequential to us. It mattered so little. And yet, here it is paying off, and they make the decision as writers to have him die. He dies, trying to escape, doing a Bonnie and Clyde escape, but in this way, more pathetic, where he accidentally ODs.
It shifts the antagonist from being Maul and Locke to Maul and this other Breen. And it doesn't make it feel like anybody is in more danger or that it is more serious than it was, because he fucks himself over.
Romeo and Juliet. He poisoned himself, now he's gone. But Rachel, it does because she's now more psychotic and deranged. She lost the person she loved, and now what's stopping her? Before, it was him. He was the grounding point. He was the anchor for her, and now he's gone. So what is going to stop her from doing anything and everything she wants?
Because she was always the more dangerous one, and now she's lost everything.
Book understands because he lost everything too. They connect. We're not so different, you and I. On a rewatch, I hate that he's dead because I know that it's just going to lead to these stupid logical leaps, which we already end on, which is because she's married to Locke, that means now she in their culture, which we know nothing about, by the way, we know nothing about their culture, to believe this. He, the Primarch, has to take her with him because she is basically the equivalent of Locke. Like, she's like the inheritor of like his status. And Locke had more status than the uncle who made the blood pact on him in the first place. You would think, Rachel, if you had a blood pact that would make the whole of your society want to kill you, that would kind of lower your social status. I don't know, maybe not.
No.
I think that would kind of wipe it off the board, wouldn't it?
No, not when there is a larger political play happening.
Why? I actually disagree, but go on.
No, that's the only dumb reason that I can come up with why it doesn't.
So what do you feel about it now on the rewatch of his death? Does it
still just meaningless?
He's going to flop around in the next couple of episodes as a corpse that they drag from place to place.
Yeah.
But it affects her character. See, they fridged him to motivate her. And what does it make you feel about her character now, where she's got this humanity to her, but that's also her undoing?
I don't
Bonnie has lost her Clyde.
I don't care. I just don't care. I can't even be bothered to come up with more reasons why. I just don't care. I just don't care. I do care about Hugh getting shot. I care about that quite a bit.
Do you want to talk about him now? The
Yeah.
man, the myth, the legend, Hugh Culber. Hughdar, the section of the show where we talk about Dr. Hugh Culber, what he got up to, what he contributed to the plot, because he's a character that often gets so little, but in this episode, he got a lot.
almost managed to save Locke. If Locke hadn't OD'd by his own hands, he may just have made it. But no. No. Locke refused to be saved because...
He didn't want to play the political games.
Oh yeah, but it was like any cell is as bad as each other, basically. Like a cell on the Federation is just as bad as being captured by the Breen. So I'm gonna risk my life and inject myself with a bunch
But Rachel, we talked about
unnamed
him.
drugs.
What about Hugh? So Hugh was unable to save him.
Yes,
Does
but
this really break him up?
Hugh is one of the multiple people that do a deep dive into records off screen and then present the most pertinent piece of information that just might save the day. Because he did a deep dive into Dominion War medical records to get information about the Breen. So then they get this thing
A freezer unit.
delivered.
Makes it chilly in there.
Yeah.
He has to wear a new coat.
Yes, he gets to wear a dapper coat. And Mole doesn't get an extra coat or a blanket or anything.
Because
so
she's a criminal.
She's there slightly shivering but still trying to be
Tough.
And Burnham walks in there and is like, oh, it's a little bit chilly in here.
That's how she says it. Remember, she was raised on Vulcan. But she's like, it's a little bit chilly.
It's a little bit chilly. It's a little bit nippy.
but
even though it's like meant to be sub-zero.
But the Breen love it because they're, they like the cold a lot, I guess.
Yeah, it helps restore their system.
But what did you get out of Hugh this episode? What was your feelings and takeaway? I mean, I'm glad that his spiritual journey really mattered in this one. Came up, didn't it? Oh, wait.
When?
Oh, wait, yeah. Didn't come up at all. He was just Doctor in this episode. He was just...
For like half a second when you said that initially, I was just like...
You believed me.
Did they bring that up when they talked about
To take the snark away, the best we got is he tried to reason with Mole and Locke. He tried to connect with them.
with them.
He got to fight her.
When that failed.
Yes, but he did try to connect. He tried to connect, and I like this one moment where Locke is like, "I am Breen. We are not like you. You cannot always try to connect with aliens on the same way that you do."
Like humans, stop trying to work with us like we do.
And then Hugh has the great thing of like, but there's always common ground, no matter the species, no matter the race, no matter the creed. Which I think is good. Like, as a Federation, like, as a Starfleet character, it's good. And there are some moments in this episode where Hugh's kind of giving the Bones McCoy feel of like, hey, you can put a scalpel to my neck. This is how you can kill me because I'm the Doctor. I'm going to save your life. Like, I have no allegiance to anyone in this because my job is to do the right thing and say the Hippocratic Oath. They do that. It's nice. It's nice that they let Hugh Culber be the Doctor in an episode, but it's not as if this is him involved in any way. He's just there to say those lines. Hugh got to show how Buffy is and punch Mole in the face, which I laughed at.
Wrong that he was outmatched, right? Like, I know that he's not a fighting guy.
No, I agree. He punched her square in the face and she still got up. I don't believe it.
Yeah, but
I don't believe it. Not because she's
extra mods.
Yeah, it's not because she's a smaller woman. It's just because he's so fucking jacked and strong.
He has enough muscle that there would be power in that punch.
He could
and you don't get the sense that he is pulling that punch.
Not at all. And the camera spins around in a way where it shows like the full force of it. If he was here's how I'll put it. If it was Book and him fighting, I would still believe that he could take out Book. That's how much of I believe that this character is a super strong guy because look at him.
Yeah. But we get multiple scenes of Hugh in this episode. It's all kind of like in service of this stuff. There's no references to his ongoing spiritual journey. He doesn't interact with Stamets in any way.
Or Adira.
No. Is there anything else Hugh related that you want to explore
I'm
before
happy that
we do ratings?
I'm happy that he lived. He didn't die. He didn't.
No, like Locke gets stabbed accidentally, and now he's dead. But
Hugh gets shot with a phaser.
And then he's fine at the end of the episode.
It's on stun. It's fine. One thing before the rating I will say is dollars to donuts. The first time I watched this, I thought that they were going to kill Nan. I thought that was going to be the logical progression of like the thing, and they don't.
Yeah.
And it's fine that they don't, but I actually did think Mole was going to take that step and show like she's that desperate that she killed one of her friends, and like we on a diplomatic level want to let her pass, but we can't on a personal level because of this thing.
I remember that of like being they're gonna bring her back just to kill her, and then we were like, okay, she would have had more point in this episode if she did die for it.
And
but,
and the final scene is they say that it could be that the progenitor tech revived the dead, and someone says, I can't remember who, Raina probably, someone says, a bit of a stretch, isn't it? And it's like, it's enough for her to believe.
Yep, and that's
so
enough.
That's why she's teamed up with the villains.
This episode is a yum. There was nothing good about this episode to me. Every scene was strained and burdened and boring.
Is this the best season?
I knew that you were going to bring that up at some point.
Julio said it, and I keep thinking about it because I still don't know where I land on this season. This episode is a yum. I think I hated Mirrors more, but this episode insulted me more.
Mirrors aggravated me more. But like Erigah has left me feeling like a little bit more apathetic, I guess.
Well, what's the next episode? Hopefully, we can only go up from here. They're off to the library.
Oh.
I sure hope that there isn't any silence in there.
Oh, yeah. We're into labyrinths.
Ooh, Bowie be there?
When Burnham is trapped within a quote-unquote mindscape, designed to test her worthiness to retrieve the progenitor's powerful technology. Book, Rayner, and the crew of the USS Discovery must hold off the Breen long enough for her to escape. That's one sentence, by the way.
Is that the whole summary?
Mm-hmm.
I sure hope that Tilly's love interest comes back in this episode somehow and gives us some pertinent information. I sure hope that Hugh Culber's spiritual journey will play a part. I will just say right now, I remember almost nothing of this episode other than the kooky librarian character looks almost exactly like Nan, but with like long white hair. Like the makeup is almost identical. That's all I remember. But we shall be back next time to talk about labyrinths. Thank you all so much for listening. If you have enjoyed the podcast, make sure to share it around with all of your friends, family, and foes. You can support us on Patreon and get these episodes early, as well as access to reactions and so much other content. We have been going through the Dune franchise, whether it be TV shows or movies. We've done the X-Men movies. We've done so many things over there. It's actually quite staggering. So if you have the means to support the podcast, please do so. Everything is included in the description of this episode, as well as the email address where you can contact us more directly, which is
yumyumpod@gmail.com.
I often ask this question to wrap out. Since we don't have a guest, it's up to you and I to determine who should have said yum yum in this episode. When would it have happened?
None.
When?
When she's like, actually, Book isn't that bad. He's pretty yum yum.
You and I, we're on the same fucking wavelength, because I was going to say, instead of saying I misjudged you, she should have turned around, licked her lips, flicked her hair back and said, Book, yum yum. And then we would have known she's accepted